to the RMW Rock My World podcast. I'm Tony Fennell, and as always with me today, I've got my two co-hosts in Chicago. We've got our man of the day, Chuck Masak. How are you, Chuck?
I'm great. Good morning.
Good morning. So quick weather update. Nice, bad, indifferent, too hot?
Oh, it's nice. It's 60-ish, but it's going to get warm.
Take that.
Got another summer coming in for a couple of days.
Oh, well, it never... Listen, fall happens. I think fall in America happens for like 15 seconds, doesn't it? Like it appears Monday morning and it's gone by Tuesday night and then it's winter. So enjoy it.
That is totally
right.
It.
That's it. What is it? 2 seasons in Chicago, summer and construction. I think it's...
That is correct. It's actually winter and construction.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, winter and construction. All right. So, and Mike Litson over in the UK. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Slightly puzzled by this whole arcane Fahrenheit nonsense, but yeah, good.
You should come and live in America. All right, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Well, listen, let's get on with this then today. One of the biggest announcements over the last week was the fact that Green Day, Weezer, and Fall Out Boy have announced that they'll be embarking on a joint tour next year. The Hella Mega Tour will kick off in Europe in June 2020 and make its way across to North America throughout the rest of the summer. Tickets, by the way, will go on sale this Friday, September 20th. Plus, if that wasn't enough, all three bands have released new songs that will eventually appear on a future album. Green Day, they released a track called Father of All, and to be their lead single from their new album of the same name that will be out in February 2020. Weezer's new track is called The End of the Game, which will be on their new album Van Weezer, due out next year in May. And Fall Out Boy, they released Dear Future Self, Hands Up, and will be included on their upcoming album, Greatest Hits, Believers Never Die, Volume 2, due for release this November. So, these mega tours are getting more and more commonplace. You've only got to look at the success of the Journey Foreigner matchup to see shared costs allow bands to hit the road for longer in a bigger way. And of course, that means bigger returns from the old box office. My question to you two knowledgeable fellas is this the way forward for touring bands? What do you think, Chuck? Is this the way to go?
It's the only way to go right now. I mean,
yeah,
it's the way they're filling stadiums for rock music. You know, rock tours are not doing huge unless it's Iron Maiden or, you know, something major. But this is the way that they're able to sell out mega stadiums and make it look. I mean, it's not that they're making it look huge. It is huge. But, you know, I mean, Green Day could probably sell out most mid-large size stadiums, but you know, this is enormous, you know, fan draw from all three bands, and I think they're just trying to, you know, kick rock in the balls and get it going again.
Well, it's also the greatest hits tour, isn't it? I mean, basically, every one of those bands is going to be playing every hit they've got. And basically, it's like going to the gig, putting on the jukebox and going, if I had to choose my songs, it'd be these.
Oh,
yeah,
totally.
I mean, it's also not like this is an entirely new thing either. I mean, we always used to have I guess you'd call them sort of stadium mini festival type gigs. You know what I mean? Where you'd get like sort of 10 bands around a similar niche, and they'd go and get a venue that was, you know, way too big for that normal band to ever fill. Like, you know, they used to do them at the MEN in Manchester and things like that all the time. Although I seem to think they had actually faded off for a while. But they weren't tours per se. They were, you know, you'd have like a 3-night run or something like that.
That seems to be a European thing. I mean, it's now come over to the States where I don't see as many tours. I mean, they're there, but I see more bands doing open air festival or Rocklahoma, or, you know, that we now have the same festival things that the UK kind of made big.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, this isn't so much festivals. This was like, I'm talking things like Give It a Name, Taste of Chaos, that kind of thing that used to sort of, and they might actually, to be fair, they might still be kicking around, but they're, you have these things that are kind of like randomly placed in cities, and they'll basically take the big venue that was reserved mostly for the top 40 pop acts, and they'll go and ram 10 rock bands in for a one-day show. And I wouldn't really say it's a festival because you don't have that camping element, but it's these sort of mini. I mean, what would you call them, a festival, Tony? I don't know.
It's like a one day. It's a one day affair, really. I mean, if Chuck, and you know this as well as I do. In fact, far more than I do. You've lived here your whole life, but in my 30 plus years being over here in the States, when you look at just look at the two bands that I mentioned earlier, Journey and Foreigner. Hit, 80,000 plus a night every single night. They obviously can't fill those anymore. But when you add those two bands together and then you throw in, here's another band, Def Leppard, into the mix because they joined that tour for probably about 20 dates. The return is colossal. It's almost like the heydays for those bands, but they're sharing it between three.
And they have to do it that way. I mean, concert tickets, we've discussed this in other podcasts, they're super expensive. I think the way they justified the super expensive is to put multiple acts, that in their heyday would have sold out any stadium.
Especially Journey.
I mean, we can blame Ticketmaster partially for that kind of stuff, though, as well, can't we? Because they was it Pearl Jam that tried to go against them?
Yes, they started that. They were the first that went against it. I mean, because you look at a band like Muse, they sell out soccer stadiums around the world. So there's definitely still, single bands that can tour and do that draw. But on the rock side of things, it's not there.
Well, how about this for a tour? Van Halen, Sammy Hagar, Extreme. I think there's a common thread there somewhere. Isn't
yeah,
there?
somewhere in there. But I mean,
actually, that wouldn't be a bad tour if I'm being honest.
That'd be an interesting tour. I mean, this tour is pretty large. I mean, I'm looking. What are they doing? Netherlands, Belgium, Austria, Scotland. A couple of dates in England.
Huddersfield.
Yeah. Obviously, Chuck might not be aware of this, but Huddersfield is, well, to be fair, it's England's largest town because it doesn't quite qualify to be a city. It's kind of a bit of a backwater. Uh-huh. And everyone is very confused as to why it's going there, but including people I know that live in Huddersfield. So, I mean, power to them. They're going to have a disappointing night out afterwards if they try and drink.
I mean, because they're playing a London stadium, which what is London Stadium? I'm used to hearing O2 or any of the the bigger arenas. But
I don't know what
is Huddersfield on a different geographic location. South
it's near
England
me.
Or okay.
No, Huddersfield's near me. It's sort of it's in the north. But normally people do Manchester or even you'd expect them to be more likely to do Leeds than the Huddersfield stadium.
Birmingham, my hometown. Absolutely, big stop. You got the NEC Arena, the O2 Arena. There's a lot of really good big venues to play in Birmingham. I'm surprised.
I mean, everything in the States is huge. It's almost all baseball fields. I mean, in Chicago here, they're playing Wrigley Field, which is enormous. Fenway Park in Boston. I mean, it's pretty cool.
They're not messing around. It was interesting as well. I don't know if you've got the guys. Obviously, we're in different locations for the people listening right now. But if you guys have got the tour poster in front of you, I spotted this yesterday, and I went, huh. So if you have a look at the tour poster, right on the top left-hand side, there's a rather big Harley Davidson logo.
Yeah, it says presented by Harley Davidson.
Right? I find that quite interesting. I wouldn't have thought, I mean, this is where it goes, and maybe someone can enlighten me here. Up till now, I would never have associated Weezer with Harley Davidson. It just doesn't make sense to me.
It's the wrong era of rock
with Harley Davidson. Well, it's strange, but it just goes to show where music is going and where the big brands are going.
I'd rather see Harley sponsoring a tour than some energy drink or something like that.
Right.
I mean,
than Uber.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. I mean, I guess this goes to show that
Uber presents.
Green Day of classic rock now. I guess is what that's telling us.
They are considered classic rock.
And now I get to feel old. Cheers, guys. I'm catching up with you.
Welcome to our life. Welcome to our life, Mike.
I mean, I think it's going to be a massive tour. I think it's going to be badass. I mean, this new Weezer track, it's awesome to hear them rocking on the track for once. Yeah. I mean, all the new tracks are great. I mean, I love Fall Out Boy and accept them for their kind of crossover to pop, but the Green Day track is pretty badass, but I love the Weezer track. And it's just so funny how they're playing into Van Halen, and the song starts off with the finger tapping solo, and it's that band just gets it. They totally get it.
Well, it's Rivers Como, man. I mean, he's just a genius, that guy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I actually saw the Weezer Panic in the Disco tour in Chicago.
Oh wow.
That was a great night. I was like, I mean, Panic in the Disco came out and absolutely was swinging massive punches. I mean, it was proper heavyweights, bang, 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 bang. And then Weezer came out, kind of looked and went, okay, and we're monster. It was just track after track. The sound was brilliant. A totally different gig. You've got Brandon Urie jumping around on the piano and, sort of pouncing about everywhere. And it was like, all right. But it was great. It was more like a Queen show. Weezer came out and were a little bit more like Oasis, relaxed. Doesn't matter. But every song was bang, bang, bang. Fantastic. A really good double bill. You wouldn't have thought that would have worked, but it did.
Oh, well, I was going to say, guys, have you seen the VIP packages that are coming as part of this tour?
No, I've not.
I do not.
So we're talking about $900, give or take. No band involvement whatsoever.
Really? What do you get?
Oh, what do you mean?
Yeah, you get a backstage tour led by one of the roadies. Yeah, I know, right? An official Hella Mega Tour litho, an official commemorative ticket, a water bottle, a bottle opener, a drawstring bag, a commemorative laminate. That's all it says. Commemorative laminate. So
a bunch of tchotchke crap that cost them pennies to get made.
Yeah, and a on-site VIP host, which means someone will go get your beers for you. If I could
just interject and say,
seated ticket as well. So you're not even so you're in the sticks.
I'll just interject and say, crock of shit. Sorry, did I just say that? No.
Yeah.
I'll interject and say that is an insane waste of money.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you're not going to be able to hang out with the bands, I mean, what's the point? And you're not even going to get prime seating, like that really is what is the point.
Yeah, because on a stadium, there is no such thing as prime seating because the prime seating is stood at the front, right? If you're in the seats, you're quite a way away from where everything's happening, which is at the front of the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, look, mate, I mean, that disappoints me. If I'm being absolutely honest with you, the right up till now, I was like 3 bands putting it together. It's quite obvious Green Day are the biggest draw, so they're going to be getting the most money. And I see that Weezer are on first, right? So Weezer, Fall Out Boy, Green Day. Is that the bill? I think it is.
There's actually another opener.
The
Interpreters.
All right. Well, either way, I thought it was a really nice package, and I thought, you know what? Bring the greatest hits to the fans. Bang. No. Now, if it's their idea to actually throw that out as a VIP package, you and I and obviously Mike, yourself, we all know people who do merch. We all know how much that comes to. That $900 package where you get where you can get your steps up on your Fitbit. That's about all you're getting. So you get your steps on your Fitbit and a load of crap from China or from Japan or wherever they can get it.
It costs about a tenner, yeah.
A tenner, exactly, because you're buying them in bulk. So, look, I get it. And again, we've gone over this after on our earlier podcasts. But come on, really? That's what you're going to charge? $900, and you get that?
Well, what's interesting about this whole thing is that these guys are all managed by the same management company.
Yep.
Which is fairly normal. I mean, normally you'd have your label mate tours where you're on the same record label, which plays into these guys are all free agents now. They're Green Day just delivered their last Warner Brothers release with this new record, and Fall Out Boy, I think this is their remainder for Island. And Weezer's been independent, and they are all managed by Crush Music. And Weezer has already been releasing, I think the last 4 albums were on Crush Music's imprint label through Atlantic. So
you can only imagine, Chuck, the returns on those, right?
Oh,
I mean, for the bands. I mean, if they're selling, let's just say they sell 100,000 worldwide. There used to be a time where you were lucky to get 16% of sale. Right, lucky to get 16%. Let's call it 12%. A lot of them were that. That's right. I remember signing with Atlantic, and we got 12% of anything, and that's after you've paid your advances back, which are always outrageous. But you got 12% of profits, and you never saw a profit unless you were Madonna or unless you were Guns N' Roses. But
I mean, Crush has got
these guys are making a lot of money.
Yeah, this whole thing is going to pull in quite a lot of money. I mean, and the interesting thing about Crush Music is they were the founding managers for Fall Out Boy. They started back in
the Chicago-based, right, Chuck?
Yeah, Chicago-based. They're back in the emo, the Mike era of music. I mean, they were managing a lot of the Taste of Chaos bands and the whole Warped Tour bands, and now they've moved. I mean, I know Panic at the Disco was with them for a while. I think they're still with Crush, Panic, and then the only things that they don't have that are not rock is Lordi and Sia. And then they've got
both of those are huge.
Oh yeah, there's nothing on the roster for Crush that's not enormous. Yeah. You know, so it looks like, I mean, and this kind of plays into maybe a little side note here is management companies starting to create imprints and getting the distribution deals through the majors. It seems like, you know, because more and more bands, their contracts are coming due and they're not renewing. They've made enough money that they can live comfortably, I mean, on these bigger bands. And now they're doing their own imprints with their management companies. I think that's the future. I think that...
Well, it's almost done full circle, you know, because there was a time when managers were just the guys, you know. Let's just talk about some of the heavyweights. Who was the fellow who managed Led Zeppelin? Peter Grant. Peter. You know, so Peter Grant dictated everything. He would say, that ain't happening, that ain't happening. And the record companies thought they had control. No, they didn't. It was people like Peter Grant, the Kirbishleys, who have, you know, the Who's of this world, the Epsteins of this world. Those were the guys. And then all of a sudden, and you'll remember this, and Mike, this is not excluding you, but this was our era, because remember, we're 248 years old combined. No. So what I'm saying is with our era, lawyers were the guys. It was the record companies for a while. And then all of a sudden, if you had the right lawyer, you were getting a record deal. And those lawyers took a huge chunk of whatever you got. You know, you're going in there going, I'm signing to Atlantic. I'm going to be broke, but I'm signing to Atlantic. You know, that's kind of how it went. But the lawyers were like, oh, they're signing to Atlantic, all right. And darling, we're getting a new boat. But that was the way it was for a long, long time. Now, I think there's a reversion, as Chuck was rightly saying. The management companies are back in the seat. They're in the seat dictating where stuff's going to go. Why? Because a lot of those deals are ending. Just as Chuck said, they're ending. So all of a sudden, the power is with the artist. And look, the artist also has the right at this point. You know, everybody does deals with management companies that you can get out of. Crush seems to be the label that everybody wants to, the management company / label that everybody wants to vacillate towards, because apparently they're doing the right thing. They're set for a fortune. An absolute fortune. Management are back in control.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's, you know, we're in a changing time too. So all these contracts are coming due, and we're, you know, streaming is the new norm. And so the traditional record deal is not as enticing, you know, and I think the management companies, they're working co-branding deals where a label's not really in the business to do that. So they're figuring out, they're thinking outside the box on how to get funds into the party, you know, with whatever clothing branding and energy drink branding, co-branding and
Harley Davidson.
And Harley Davidson, yeah. I mean, and labels I don't think are set up for that. So again, this is another shot in the death knell of the major label, I think, because eventually, I mean, these guys are doing P&D deals through Atlantic and Warner's or the big majors. Apple is going to become they already are, but they're going to become legitimately right now, Apple is the biggest music distributor in the world. So why use Warner and all this stuff? Like they're going to go directly through to Apple, and I rumor has it Apple at some point wants to start their own label, which is basically just letting all the artists directly sign to directly to Apple.
Right, and if they're like any other label, they'll say you can't go anywhere else. They won't be this. You can go just like our podcast. It's on Stitcher, it's on iHeartRadio, blah blah blah. You won't be able to do that if you're signing a direct deal with iTunes. Correct. It's just not the way. I mean, let's never forget that the bank. Oh, sorry, I actually mislabeled them then. No, I didn't. The label called the bank, because that's what they were basically. They were just loaning you cash. Yes, they had infrastructure, which was PR companies and publishing, but
radio.
They owned you, right, dude? But we all know this. It was basically a bank where you could go in and you could have a smoke and you could have a drink, as opposed to a stuffy bank manager. It was an A&R guy saying, "We're going to sign you, and we're going to make you huge. We're going to give you X amount, and we're going to charge you a gazillion in interest, and you're never going to pay it back. So let's have a good time."
Well,
that was it.
That's one of the reasons everything is flipped now, because that ecosystem is gone, because we don't have radio playing as big of a part, and the internet has made it the wild, wild west. So the record companies can't strong arm who makes it. You know, ultimately at the end of the day, people are like, oh, well, you know, if an artist was good, an artist was good. And that is true. That never goes away. But you know, the record companies paid enough payola money to the radio stations to force their hand on who got played. Same thing with MTV. You know, MTV was not a free thing. I mean, but that's going away, because the internet is now opened the floodgates up for everybody to do whatever they want.
And you can still push certain songs, just like any business. There's always the go around. You know what I mean? That'll never that will never ever change. Talking of MTV, if I can just throw this in, and it's a quick segue, but I really need to do this. Yeah. Can we give an honorable mention to Rick Ocasek of the Cars?
Oh man, dude, sad.
Me too. I mean, possibly one of my favorite songs ever was "Best Friend's Girl." Oh my god, it's like
so.
I remember hearing that, freaking out. Hey, Mike, I'm sure you remember that track, but do you remember that track by the Fountains of Wayne? Stacey's mom.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. And everyone in high school had a friend who got replaced. You know, who Stacey got replaced with, and it was used to wind them up all through like about 5 or 6 years.
Well, that was based solely on the sound and songwriting style of the Cars, without a doubt.
I mean, you know, playing back into Weezer, Rick Ocasek produced all the early Weezer records.
Yeah,
I mean,
he did.
And it's just
sad.
Track,
you remember the track "Popular"? Chuck, remember that? The king of the class, I'm popular. Oh my god! And I was like, "This is amazing. Who produced this? Rick Ocasek. Come on."
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, you know, if he's going to go quietly in his sleep, there is, you know, much worse ways to go.
Oh no! I just read today that his wife, I can never pronounce the name, the supermodel, Paulina. She found him, bringing him his Sunday coffee and newspaper or whatever. I don't think they're still together. They were together, but. And she had said he was recovering from surgery, and she wouldn't say what the surgery was. So, I don't know if this is a complication from that. The coroner ruled it as heart disease, so I guess heart attack. I mean,
well, absolutely brilliant band. I mean, good God. And sad. And let's just hope it was one of those he watched Saturday Night Live on Saturday and he went to sleep. Well, let's hope. There's worse ways to go.
Definitely. And then it's been a bad week for deaths. It's 2 in 1 week. So
Chuck, Rick Ocasek wasn't the only one who passed away this week, right?
No, Eddie Money, which is another. I saw Eddie Money. God, I don't even remember what year it was, but that was a really great show. He was super talented.
And it's terrible. I mean,
well, it plays into our podcast we're losing everybody.
That is correct. And you know what? he wasn't one of these guys who shied away from playing live. He was obviously in a bit of a bad way health-wise. Didn't matter. He was still out there singing, still out there playing.
To the end.
Yeah, man. It wasn't even just that, though, either. Johnson went as well. Daniel Johnson went this week.
Daniel Johnson, that's right.
Yeah, so again, these might not be well known to anyone over in the UK, but considering guys like Nirvana listed him as an influence, he obviously had something on your scene.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's definitely not a big name like Eddie Money, but
experimental rock at its best.
Yeah, I mean, this is just they're dropping and it sucks. I know people are already starting the bets. Who's next?
Oh God! It's got look. The thing is, at this point, I'm fair going. It's got to be Ozzy, but somehow he's going to magically outlive them all, isn't he?
I think he's taking the same elixir that fucking the Rolling Stones are taking.
There's something, isn't there? There's like something going on there.
Well, Mike, if I can, let me throw a segue into you, Mike. So you don't get many bison to the pound in England, right? I've seen cows. I've seen sheep, and sheep are very afraid when they're in. There's a whole English joke I was about to go into there, Chuck, and I'll leave it.
Wales, the land where men are men.
Yes.
Yeah, the land where men are men and sheep are nervous. Yes.
Yeah. But we don't see many bison. I got to say that. So, Mike, you called me the other day and you went, "Have you heard that ACDC story? Could you please repeat it? Because I think you're lying."
Yeah. So it's because USA, and obviously the cops in Montana must be pretty fucking bored because they've been using ACDC to clear sheep off the highway. Bison off the highway. This is the problem. I grew up in Wales. You mentioned sheep to me, I can't get it off the brain. Yeah. So
if they've been pooping all over the road, would it be the highway to smell? Sorry, I'll leave it.
But yeah, so I don't know how they ended up settling on ACDC. But apparently that's their favourite thing to use to clear these bison off the roads because that's a normal.
Yeah, they like Hell's Bells. I guess they said that if they use the sirens and the horns and all that, and if that doesn't work, they blast Hell's Bells.
Which apparently works.
I say yes.
I wonder if ACDC makes royalties on how many bison they move off the highways.
That was my first thought actually, because it's technically a state body using their tracks and broadcasting it.
I was going to say there's a story using the same kind of stuff when they played "Rock the Casbah" to death when the Iraq War started. I mean, that broke Joe Strummer's heart, and he had no say. They were just like, "We're going to keep you up all night, and we're going to be blasting "Rock the Casbah" as the planes were coming in and dropping the bombs. That's what they were playing. And Joe Strummer, who was a complete pacifist, that absolutely destroyed him. Did he get any royalties? I don't think he'd have taken them, would he?
I just watched that Clash, that latest documentary on them, and I mean I love the Clash when they're up, but I didn't know much about them. But learning the backstory on that band and all the bullshit they went through as a band amongst each other,
completely.
It's a cool doc.
Yeah.
What's it called for anyone who wants to actually, check it out?
I'll let you look for that.
It was either the rise and fall of the Clash or... Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
so it's on Netflix, basically.
Yeah,
it's not new. I thought it was a new one, but
It came out in 2012. It's the rise and fall of the Clash. It's a great documentary about them.
Well, we've just given Netflix a huge plug. About time they started paying our monthly subscription for free. It's time, Netflix.
They're taking my money every month. They got to give it back.
They're not taking mine anymore. I'm done with them raising the price. Come on, give me a break. I don't mind you raising the price, but by the amount that they did, I think it was like $5 a month. I was like, and you're done. Does that mean I'm cheap?
We get taxed to own a TV over here, man. So it doesn't really bother me.
That's right. That's why I moved to America. Sick of paying the BBC licensing fee. I was out. Well, guys, I think we're pretty darn close to winding this one up. I've actually really enjoyed today's, and are any of you two going to go and see this Hella Mega Tour?
I would love to. I mean, I'm a huge Green Day fan, and I'm a Weezer fanatic, and Fall Out Boys, they're good. I would definitely love to go see this.
Mike?
I probably will. There's still a lot of tickets for the Huddersfield show, and that is like 10 minutes down the road from me. So, and I mean that as an actual 10 minutes, not an English.
You got
film.
no
It's 10 minutes away.
excuses. You got no excuses.
Well, Mike will find an excuse. Well, English people do this, you see. It's like, you're going to go to the gig. Well, it is raining, and it is a Friday night. And Coronation Street's on. Sorry, Chuck, that's an English show that's on.
In all fairness, if I was going to excuse it, I'd say it's in Huddersfield.
Yeah, there you go. Excuse taken. Hey, listen, thanks for listening today. Mike, Chuck, superstars as always. Don't forget to like and subscribe our podcast, and you can catch every single one of them on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Intune Radio, Stitcher, and have a look at rockmyworld.com. And we've got stuff on YouTube. And we've got a competition running. And we've got a competition running for a Strat. You got to go and check it out. And by the way, that will be on YouTube. Come and follow us. Don't forget, like and subscribe. Love you all. See you all next week. Bye-bye.